In this video I want to talk about elbow position and shooting and how Shooter Tutor can help improve your form. Go to a basketball game and watch the pregame shoot around, high school, college, whatever. What you'll see are the better shooters keep their elbow under the ball when they shoot. The weaker shooters let their elbow come out when they shoot. You want to keep your elbow under the ball because as you extend your arm, if you let your elbow drift out like this, what happens is the ball tends to roll off the side of your hand. Whereas if you keep your elbow under the ball, as you extend your arm, you still have perfect balance over the ball. To use Shooter Tutor to do this, you're going to need a good armband. You're going to need one that is snug enough so that the device won't, or the band won't slip on your arm, and you don't want one that lets the device wobble around on the band. I used Velcro to keep the band snug and to keep the device from wobbling around. When you attach the armband, you want it down by your elbow, not up by your shoulder. Closer to the elbow, the better. But make sure you don't have it down so far that it restricts your range of motion with your arm. You want to be able to bend and extend your arm without resistance. Also, when you attach the armband, make sure that the home button is toward your shoulder. The top of the device should be facing away from your shoulder. So what you need to do first is teach Shooter Tutor what the ideal way to hold the ball when you're shooting is. And like I said, you want to keep your elbow under the ball, and the ideal way for balancing the ball is to use one hand and keep your elbow. The elbow is automatically under the ball when you hold it with one hand. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to teach your body to use the same form when shooting with two hands as it would be shooting with one, because when you shoot with one hand, you're forced to keep the ball balanced all the way through your shot. When you shoot with two hands, the off hand, the non-shooting hand, is just there to stabilize the ball. It shouldn't be part of the shot. It's just to stabilize the ball in your hand. So your shooting form with two hands should be the same as your shooting form with one hand. So what you want to do is teach Shooter Tutor how you hold the ball with one hand. So when you calibrate, hold the ball with one hand. Set Shooter Tutor to the calibration tab, which is the first tab on the screen. Once you're on the calibration tab, go to wherever you're going to shoot from, hold the ball with the one hand, tap it. That's effectively teaching Shooter Tutor. Now, as you're holding the ball, make sure that you hold the ball however you would hold it as you were going to shoot. When I hold the ball, when I'm shooting, I hold the ball so that I'm looking under the ball. So if I'm going to calibrate, I'm going to hold the ball like this and make sure that the line of sight to the basket goes under the ball. If you shoot over the ball, you're going to have to hold the ball like this. If you look over the ball, you hold it like that when you calibrate. So let's just give it a try. Calibrate. Okay, so now I'm calibrated. So now what I'll just do is I'm just going to start training my arm. I'm going to start stepping into my shot. What you'll notice if I step in incorrectly, you hear the wavy sound. That means that my elbow is not under the ball. And as I correct, that's the sound we want to hear. So ideally what we're striving for is we want to just go directly into that locked on tone. At first, what you'll probably find is you hear the wavy tone a lot and you have to adjust. Just keep bringing your arm up until you have a natural movement or natural flow right to that locked on position. So, the shot. There it is. So once you've got it so that you're consistently able to go straight to the locked on tone, try shooting. When you shoot, however, don't listen for the locked on tone. Just go straight into your shot. If you pause and listen for the locked on tone, you're going to ruin your shot rhythm. So just take your shots. If your shots aren't working for you, then stop shooting and just set yourself a few more times. So I'll set myself a couple of times to make sure that my arm's still going to the right spot, and then I'll just take a shot. Okay, I think I'm ready to shoot. So that's all we're doing. We're bringing the ball up, listening for the tone. Bring the ball up, listening for the tone. And try it from various places on the court. Set the ball, listen for the tone. But it's important that when you're shooting, you stop listening for the tone and just take your shot. You don't want to mess with your shot rhythm. This is just to get this motion, the start of your shot. Make sure that you're getting set in the correct position. And once we're all done and we've practiced this long enough, we've established muscle memory, and our arm is just going to automatically do the right thing through repetitions. You just bang it into your arm. You train your arm over and over and over to do the right thing, and eventually it'll just happen on its own. You won't even need to think about it. You won't need to use Shooter Tutor anymore. You know, maybe if for this basketball season you've trained your arm, then you don't do basketball until next season again. Maybe before next season you want to break out Shooter Tutor again just for a day or so, just to reestablish that muscle memory. But for the most part, once you've trained Shooter Tutor, or once you've trained your arm through Shooter Tutor, you're going to have that. You're going to own that. Your muscle memory is going to be established, and your shot is immediately going to benefit by it. So once you've done that, you'll have a good foundation to start building and improving your shot on top of that. The next feature that you can use Shooter Tutor to help with is finding the ideal amount of arc to put on your shot. Depending on where you are on the court, there are different amounts of arc that you want to use to get the ideal shot being the shot that requires the least amount of effort to get the ball there. What Shooter Tutor will do in the ideal arm angle at release mode is you'll tell it where you are on the court, and you'll hold your arm at different angles, and it will beep kind of with that locked on tone when you find the angle that is ideal for that position on the court. So you'll know exactly how much arc to put on the ball. You'll find a nice consistency to your shot because you'll shoot with the same arc every time from that spot because you've trained it. Now, the ideal arm angle at release is different from elbow position, the elbow position mode, in that, well, first of all, you don't need an armband for the ideal arm angle at release, but you will need to practice. With elbow position, once you've learned it and you've trained your arm to go to the right spot, you're not really going to need Shooter Tutor for that anymore. But for the ideal arm angle at release, it's something you're going to want to come back to again and again and again. Just to remember, maybe every time you go to a new court, a court you haven't played on before, it'd probably be a good idea to go maybe to the foul line, check the ideal angle, go to the 3-point line, check the ideal angle, just to refresh your memory and make sure that you're shooting with the same angle every time. But again, Shooter Tutor is the beginning there. That's going to show you what you need to practice, but for the ideal arm angle at release, that's something that you'll have to practice again and again and again if you really want to be that lights out shooter. So that's all I have for this video. I'll put up another video talking about the ideal arm angle at release in more detail, showing you it in action. That's all I have for now.